you should be looking at organizations that are looking to either build a privacy team or grow the privacy team that they already have to try and meet the demands from these new privacy legislations. Hello and welcome back to Privacy Professional Training. My name is Fumi. Today's video, we're going to be looking at changes to the privacy laws in the United States and how they might impact your privacy career. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about a landscape. So over the last couple of years, there have been a number of states that have enacted their own privacy legislation. 2025 was no different. Earlier in the year, a number of different states enacted their own state privacy legislation to include Delaware, Iowa, Nebraska, New Hampshire, and New Jersey. So just in 1 year, over 5 states have already enacted their own data protection regulation for their state. In addition to that, mid-year, Minnesota and Tennessee laws have kicked in July. We're now in September, so there have been 7 states in just 1 year that have enacted their own data protection laws, which means that there are new obligations on corporations. And when there are new obligations on corporations, they're generally looking for expertise in the privacy space to be able to, 1, understand what the new laws are, 2, be able to implement and integrate those into the current systems that they have, and 3, look at any new obligations that they might have and find out how best to comply with those new obligations. So how this impacts your career: if you're already working in these states, you might see that there is an influx of jobs for corporations that now meet the threshold in those states. Now, let me give you a little bit of insight. Every state law in the United States has a threshold. I'll give you an example. Some states say that our privacy legislation is going to apply if your company processes the personal data of 35,000 residents. Sometimes it will say something like, if you process the personal data of 10,000 residents, but 20% of your business's revenue came from the sale of personal data, then you must comply with this regulation. So it's not going to be all businesses that are required to comply with the data protection law. It depends on the state's threshold. Now, what I do want to say is, if the company is headquartered in New Jersey and doesn't meet the threshold in New Jersey, but meets the threshold in Iowa, they'll still need to comply with the data protection law in Iowa, because the threshold might be lower or higher depending on how much personal data the corporation is processing in that state. Do you understand? So the corporation is headquartered in New Jersey. They don't meet the threshold for the New Jersey privacy law, but they do meet it in Iowa. So they're going to need a privacy professional to assist them to comply with the Iowa privacy law. And as of now, we have 21 states with their own state privacy laws. Now, that doesn't even look at the federal privacy laws. That doesn't look at the nuances in sectors. That's just state. How this impacts your career: you should be looking at organizations that are looking to either build a privacy team or grow the privacy team that they already have to try and meet the demands from these new privacy legislations. In addition to this, Maryland is coming out with its own data protection law in October. So this is also going to mean that there's going to be an influx of need for corporations in Maryland who now meet the Maryland threshold. So you're not just looking at this from a state perspective, you're looking at this from a nationwide perspective. And companies are responsible for determining whether or not they meet the threshold in each particular state. Specifically in Tennessee, they have recently enacted a robust social media verification age law, Protecting Kids from Social Media Act. So if you are a data privacy professional who specializes in COPPA, which is a privacy legislation on the federal level that enforces how children's data can be processed by companies nationwide, then you should be aware that there are nuances to the Tennessee law that are also going to require companies that process the personal data of children. There's going to be new obligations on them in that respect, and that's specific to Tennessee. Now, what this translates to from a career perspective for a privacy professional is that there's going to be more demand for privacy professionals who specialize in minors' digital privacy rights. So that's something to take consideration of. And I talk about this in other videos, but basically, your privacy career is up to you. There's so many different facets of privacy that you can choose to base your career on. You don't have to focus on privacy at the federal level. Look at it from a state level exclusively, or you can look at it from a sector perspective exclusively, especially with the changes that have happened just in 2025. Now let's talk about privacy from a federal perspective. The Privacy Act Modernization Act of 2025 was introduced to update the decades-old Privacy Act, expanding individual rights and modernizing definitions of personal data. Now, even though this act is still pending, it signals the potential for future privacy laws to impact companies on a federal level. Because in the US right now, the laws are fragmented. So companies are able to meet the obligations in a very hodgepodge kind of way. And if there is federal legislation that binds all organizations, it's going to streamline the process of a privacy program in the United States, as opposed to the pick and choose attitude that some companies have implemented due to the fragmented nature of privacy in the US. Now, what does this mean for your career? It means that there's going to be an influx of jobs in the data protection space. It means that you can capitalize on taking certifications now for when privacy continues to grow on a state level and at a federal level. It means that you can continue growing your skills by learning what the nuance is in the new state privacy laws, and you can market yourself in these states and or industries if that would be your preference. It means that you can charge higher rates because you can hone in on the specific industry that you want to be in, and you can be the subject matter expert in that industry. So there's a lot of opportunities for privacy professionals in 2025. I'm planning to do the same video at the end of the year and take a look at what's down the pipeline for 2026. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments about changes in the privacy laws in 2025 or about anything I've mentioned in the video, leave a comment below and I will definitely respond. I'll see you in another video.